Broadcasting to you, not quite live, from the loading ready run orbiting underground moon base, it's AnoAni, which probably has a longer Japanese name, but I haven't figured it out yet. I'm Brendan Beach-Deary, joining you today with our other co-hosts. Say hello, starting with the person immediately on my right.
Hello, I'm Coriander Dickinson.
It's your boy, Ian Horner.
And coming to us over the air, we have a special guest today. Introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Eryn Cerise. You may know me from the YouTubes if you frequent idle corners of that YouTube.
Eryn, actually, it'd be cool if you speak briefly on the things that you make on YouTube as well, so people can, if they're interested in the stuff you make, they will come check you out.
Sure. I'm probably most known for making videos related to Love Live, specifically the mobile game Love Live School Idol Festival. I've made tutorials, I've made gacha pull videos, silly garbage post videos, lots of stuff. And lately I've been adding magical girls to my repertoire as well. Just everything floofy and rainbow colored you could imagine.
Well, and what's the name of your new show?
The new show is called Maho Profile. It's actually kind of an educational show. It's a history of the magical girl genre, starting from the very beginning of the genre in the 1960s and going forward show by show in chronological order. It's going by at a snail's pace right now, but that's because I want to be very thorough, and I think it's working out very well. People are really enjoying it.
Awesome.
You've got some big fans in the room here right now, actually.
Sally the Witch!
Yeah. Erin's been a friend of ours for many, many years, so we're happy to have her on the show. And should we mention Heather is not here? She is on personal
If they
assignments.
haven't heard Heather, they know she's not here.
Yeah, it's probably worth being okay. Anyway, then let's start with our picks from last season, from spring 2018, and I'm going to just pass it on to Corey immediately to start for us.
Oh, dang. Okay, my first pick is Gegege no Kitarou. Yeah, the classic theme song, the spoopy outro, the characters that design-wise don't age that well, but are fantastic in the way that they've kept to the original designs. It's just kind of like a fun magical adventure set in more of a modern time. High school, I guess? Middle school?
Does it play out
hijinks?
like it is very modern, like it feels very modern?
It's set now.
Yeah, okay.
It's like they're doing construction for the Olympics.
They took a lot of time to bring cell phones into the world of yokai and make them work.
Oh, rad. Okay. Because this is like a recent remake of, like, Gegege no Kitarou had a remake like a few years ago.
Yes.
And so here is yet another one. Mm-hmm. Neat. Okay. How'd you enjoy it?
It's quite good.
Is it scary at all?
It's moderately disturbing, but in the like, oh, I'm gonna steal all these humans' souls, but it's more gag and adventure based. It's funny.
Okay, that's cool.
So, like, scary the way Hotel Transylvania is scary.
Yeah, scary the way Hotel Transylvania is scary.
Are there like a lot of morality lessons and stuff to be learned?
There are some morality lessons to be learned.
All right, that sounds like Japanese ghost story, yeah.
Yes.
Now, would you mind walking me through it a bit here, Corey? Because you and I diverged on watching this together, and if I recall the first few episodes, it seemed like the stakes were a little bit higher than I would have given a show like this to be. Like, death was actually something that could actually happen.
No one's permanently died yet. Like, Kitarou dies in the first episode.
What?
And then comes back.
Okay.
Spoilers.
It's okay, he's fine.
He's fine.
All right.
He uses his series of special attacks like shooting needle hair and his remote control Geta and what other abilities does he have?
It's not an action series in any way, shape, or form, though. Like,
there's some wicked combat scenes.
Okay. I was never quite clear on what the crux of the show was supposed to be, because I thought it was supposed to be like, a weird, super deformed Addams Family kind of thing based on all the black and white drawings I always saw. But.
So Kitarou is a yokai, and he goes and helps people in the human world that have yokai problems.
Neat.
With the help of his eyeball dad.
Is it continuing this season then too, or did it wrap up?
I'm unaware.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it in any of the lists for this season that I've seen. So probably ending at then the 12 or 13 episode mark.
Cool.
On to Ian.
Okay. Well, there's going to be a theme to my picks for this past season, and it's I hesitate to call them picks too, because a lot of these were on my picks in previous seasons, previous episodes, but this was kind of Ian's season of disappointment. And we're going to start off that disappointment with Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory, which is the fourth season of Full Metal Panic, after Full Metal Panic Classic Taste, Full Metal Panic Fumofu, Full Metal Panic The Second Raid, which was the third series. Let's make it incredibly confusing. And then Full Metal Panic finally Invisible Victory, or subtitled IV, or 1-5, Roman numeral 4.
Oh.
Yeah,
Cute.
it's clever, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Did that save it?
No, that was the only clever thing about it I've seen.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
there are some things about the story that are going some interesting places. They've taken what's happened in this season is that all your friendly friend characters were. Everything was stable at the end of the last season. And now, instead of just finding a new villain to take on, the villain's taken the fight to our heroes at Mithril. And their base has been completely trashed. They're on the run from the enemies. They have no more funding. They have no more support from their allies. And they're just trying to survive. And the problem here is that they don't really interact with any of the characters we've come to know and love. We're now thrust into Sagara Sosuke's adventures with two people we've never heard of, but look suspiciously like people we knew before. And then they die.
Ba-da-ba.
Yep.
All right.
So we've got lack of characters we actually thought we were going to see. We've got a weird mischaracterization of Chidori. She's gone from being this very powerful, in control, very smart woman to being what I'm going to refer to now as Moe Mom. They've plumped up her character design. Mm-hmm. They've stuck her in a white dress because for some reason that needs
Innocence, purity.
Exactly. And they've just made her... The character seems like she's bored to be in this show the whole time.
Oh, no.
Despite being, someone who is trapped with an enemy and has these amazing hacking skills out of nowhere now, they've just decided, no, I'm just going to lay down and literally say that I just wish I wasn't alive. And it's a sad direction for the character to go. They haven't finished the season yet as of recording, so I hope they turn it around and bring it back into something that I was hoping the series would be, but there's just so much in the middle that I was disappointed by, and by the way, the animation quality has dropped staggeringly.
Well, it's a completely different studio.
It is, yeah. I was not happy with Full Metal Panic this season. I'll finish it off just because I feel like it's a series I'd like to come back to if they make more of it, because I do enjoy the characters, I do enjoy the story, but I can't recommend this one.
That's too bad.
Eryn, what's first on your list this year?
Well, first, before we finish up with yours, I just wanted to say I never watched Full Metal Panic the first time around, and this is making me seem like I probably shouldn't bother at this point. Do you think the original Full Metal Panic is worth getting into if you didn't watch it the first time around?
No.
That's a hard one to say, because it is very old at this time.
It does not age well.
Oh.
It's been a long time since I've seen it to be able to confirm that.
The only thing I'd ever heard about Full Metal Panic was like, when I didn't get into it, was like, well, you could watch it so you can watch Fumofu and you know why it's funny, because Fumofu is really funny.
That sounds like a great advertisement for a show.
Well, that's like with like frickin' I told people once, I'm like, Futakoi Alternative is really fun because it's really different than the original Futakoi, because it's a completely different take on the show. But you can't watch Futakoi Alternative and enjoy it if you haven't watched Futakoi, and Futakoi sucks. So, sorry.
This is your reward for sitting through that.
It was mine anyway. I mean, yeah.
Oh, I should actually bring this point up as well, because this will probably come up later in some of our other picks. But the thing that should have clued me in about Full Metal Panic being maybe not what I wanted it to be is this is the first Full Metal Panic series where they didn't bring back Shimokawa Mikuni to do the theme song.
Oh!
Yeah.
Well, dang, that was like the one thing I liked about that franchise.
Oh, right, because, you're big into the music side of things, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all those three themes were just so good, and now it's just someone else, and it's the energy isn't there.
The part I like is that they store their knives on their face.
Very practical. They're just right there when you need them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I got a little extra jaw just for your knife. It's true to life in terms of mech design, let's say.
Okay, Eryn, your first pick for the last season?
Sure. I was debating whether or not to do my longer pick first or last. I think I'll do it last and build up to it. So let me start with something I didn't watch a lot of, but will prompt me to watch a lot more. I watched an episode of Cutie Honey Universe, which is obviously the latest incarnation of the Cutie Honey franchise, of which there have been many incarnations over the past several decades. And what I saw, it looked fine. I know about Cutie Honey, but I haven't actually watched any incarnation of it yet. I'm still gearing up to that in my magical girl quest, as it were. This new one seemed fine. Cheeky in kind of the way I expected. Keeps a lot of the original Go Nagai designs, including some of the more cartoony characters, like the insanely lecherous lesbian teacher.
Right, yes.
Who gets caught screwing another teacher in a bush early on in the episode.
Yeah.
With the like hair rolls and the glasses and
It wasn't anything like that blew my hair back, but it was nice to see, just as a slick new introduction to the franchise and kind of knowing a little bit about it going in. But after having watched that one episode, I definitely got the sense that I would enjoy it more if I had seen more of the franchise previously. So I think I'm not going to come back to this one until I've watched at least the original 70s anime and maybe a bit of one of the other ones. My DVD set of the original series is in the mail right now, so hopefully I can start that soon.
So it's not as if you feel that Cutie Honey universe could not be watched on its own, because when I watched the first episode of it, I felt like, oh, I'm getting all the explanation I need from seeing it.
Yeah, like I wasn't lost at all.
And it's not a continuation, it's like it does feel like it's fairly self-contained, but that you will enjoy it more personally if you actually have a lot more history with it.
I think so. Like you said, I don't think it's unenjoyable if you haven't seen any other Cutie Honey. I wasn't lost. It helped that I had known some of the proper terms beforehand going in just through research, but I got the sense that I wouldn't have had no idea what was going on. But yeah, I did get the sense that I would get more out of it if I were more versed. Especially in the relationship between Cutie Honey and the main villain, Sister Jill. There's a lot going on there because Sister Jill is disguising herself as a police inspector and trying to get in on Cutie Honey's good side.
Oh, thank Christ, because I thought I was missing something.
Oh,
Literally,
goodness,
that's
no.
what was happening.
Sister Jill canonically has a crush on Cutie.
Well, everybody does.
Yeah.
Specifically
Canonically.
Sister Jill.
Yeah, specifically her.
But that she's supposed to be, these two women look the same because they're the same woman. And I was
Yes.
like, thank God, because I thought there was just a weird Go Nagai thing.
At least I think so. It was pretty heavily implied that they were. If there is a plot twist later on that makes it turn out that they are not the same person, that will be the surprise.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Ian and I watched the whole series, and I have a range of emotions about it. It drove me to want to write a full review, which I might do at some point in the future, where it's just titled "Cutie Honey Universe is the most disturbing anime I've seen this decade."
All right.
Well, it probably would pair nicely with a discussion of Devilman Crybaby in that respect.
And that's why we watched it. We were on quite a Go Nagai kick after Crybaby.
Yeah, it really would. I think that boy, if Cutie Honey Universe is the barometer for what we're going to get out of Go Nagai revivals post Crybaby, it's probably going to be okay.
Next up is that Mazinger movie.
Yeah,
Ooh.
there's been quite a few Mazinger reboots lately.
Well,
that
Mazinger
we
has
haven't-
been immortal since its inception in the 70s, pretty much.
I have to say I was amused by the way I heard stories of Go Nagai's trip to Anime Expo and
yeah.
people being asked to not sign any Devilman stuff, only Cutie Honey stuff.
Don't even ask any questions about Devilman. Oh, it was disappointing. But that actually brings to me right. Thank you for bringing this series up to the forefront, because this is the series I was talking about with theme songs.
Mm-hmm.
Because this Cutie Honey universe is the first Cutie Honey incarnation, if I'm remembering correctly, that does not use Honey Flash.
That's correct.
I believe so.
The song grew on me. I was finally, by the end of it, I'm into it. I'm jamming.
I liked it. I can't remember it offhand, but that's because I only watched one episode.
I think it's called I Know Mission.
Yeah, it's definitely called I Know Mission. Sorry.
I don't remember how it goes at all.
I Know Mission. That's how it goes.
I'm not opposed to Cutie Honey getting a new theme song. It's not like it's sacrosanct. It's just a tradition. Traditions are meant to be broken.
Exactly, as evidenced by the Gegege no Kitarou series that came before the one that Corey watched this year.
Is that Hakaba Kitarou you're talking about?
It was, and it had the Denki Groove theme, which was
Yes. It's one of my top anime songs of all time, actually.
Mononoke no Dance.
All right, then I will give my pick. First of my 3 picks for spring is Wotakoi, or Wotaku ni Koi wa Muzukashii, which you would probably also see as Love is Hard for Otaku. For this, they like to spell otaku using the wo instead of the o, and they spell it on katakana, so it's a neat use of a character that doesn't get an awful lot of use.
And what a koi it is.
Yeah, it's very... I really like this show. I love the manga to begin with. and was like everything else that I seem to take a lot of joy with. It's like I love to see how they get stuff to anime, like what happens when they finally land that contract. And I think they really nailed it. They did an excellent job in a lot of respects. Like superficially, one of the things I really enjoyed about Wotaku was that the main character, he plays a Nintendo Switch now instead of playing his Vita because it updated for TV. But part of that is he always is playing Monster Hunter on his Vita. But to bring it to TV, he's playing a Switch. And what they did is they showed him playing Monster Hunter Generation Nintendo Switch Edition. They had literal game footage of him as he's playing it. They have the footage on the screen. You can see him playing it on his TV or on whatever else. And they kept to that as he would be doing stuff. If he's playing games or whatever and he is going to be playing Monster Hunter or whatever, they respected that. Okay, he's playing the game, he's holding the right controllers, he's like doing the things he's supposed to be doing, but he also like plays a lot of other systems and does a lot of other stuff as well. It's like they got that it was important to represent the game otaku in a way that actually was like official and made sense.
They understood their audience.
Yeah, they really understood the audience, which is what I really liked about it. And of course, Monhun Generations Nintendo Switch Edition is literally called out in the credits.
I was about to ask, but is he like, I'm going to play my Nintendo Switch, play Monhun,
never
go
comes
all
up.
House of Cards on that.
It never comes up. He never like
Sony PlayStation 4.
Does I play a Monument Valley? Or like,
Yeah.
No, that never comes up. It's just that he's playing this game, and then you get to see bits of it, and it really struck me that seeing a real media item embedded into a show like made that kind of impact on me. That was like, oh my god, like that's actually it. I'm seeing the real thing as opposed to the thing that we animated really fast to make it feel like whatever. The other thing I really loved about it in a story sense was this is about a bunch of salary people working in a nondescript company doing nondescript work, having relationships. It's about two couples that happen to be friends and like ancillary friends with each other, hanging out more and more and doing otaku things and trying to keep it hidden from everybody that they know and acting like 30-year-olds would. Like the kind of thing where it's like, I don't want to let people know that I'm an otaku. The game otaku, he kind of doesn't care because he's like, I just sit and play games at work when I'm not having to work, and that's, it's kind of seen as whatever. But everyone else is just like, I don't want to let other people know that I'm a BL fan or that I'm a cosplay person or that I'm any of these other kind of things. But with each other, they found those people in order to actually have that outlet with. And it just really felt like a more, this is how adults who are concerned with that kind of thing, but this is how adults still react to having hobbies after school. That it's like you can still continue to have a hobby like this. You can continue to, like, this has become a thing where it's like if you're in your 30s, playing video games or liking any of these other things is kind of okay. And I really liked the way that felt. I think they really got that across there, and it was fun and it was interesting. And you never see them like, nobody ever makes out, nobody like ever like has sex or anything like that. But it's all implied that these things are going on. But we're not looking at that because it's not the interest of the show. The interest of the show is seeing how these people act around. Like
those aren't part of the story.
Yeah, it's like these two people are spending time at one person's apartment together, and they clearly have been there either all night or they're going to intend to be there all night. But one of them's reading manga and the other one's playing a game. And that's fine. Adults have these interests where they can do that with each other. If you're in a relationship, you can do that. And that's what really impressed me.
Man, what a great message. There's been a disproportionate amount of Twitter drama about this very topic lately, I feel like, of younger fans apparently believing that anyone over the age of 25 isn't allowed to be involved in nerdish fan things.
Yeah. And to kind of have this show pointing out, it's like you can be in your 30s, like, because at some point, anybody who's that age, they're going to get to be a later age and realize that it's like, oh, wait, well, what about the things that I loved? Am I supposed to give them up? It's like, well, no, you can still continue to love these things.
Too bad your fandom now is tax payments.
Yeah.
Point of order, none of us actually did watch Good as Any this season.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, Wotaku was great. And it was, studio, I think, was A1 Pictures. And still, though, the animation was really good. Nope. So, I don't know, maybe they put their A-team on it. Don't know what to tell you.
they hurt us with Franxx.
I know. I'll pass that on.
It seemed very sweet. I might get to it. I might not. Admittedly, it's not the type of show that I would rush to watch, I think. But it does seem like it would be a good thing to try after getting burned by MMO Junkie.
Oh, yeah.
I loved MMO Junkie.
No, I like that show, but the baggage is too much now.
That's fair. All right, I cede the floor back to Corey.
All right, moving on to Megalo Box.
Oh.
The story of a junkyard dog man named Joe who fights in betting rings in a megalo boxing tournament style. Megalo boxing being boxing, but with robot arms attached to your own arms for some reason.
Are you hitting people in the face with your robot arms?
No. No, they hit people with their fists, but their fists are propelled by robot arms.
I see.
Yeah.
I guess they kind of clamp around the wrist area.
Yeah.
Or
I
just
see.
get into the hand of the box.
So it's literally a robot arm and not a robot arm with a hand on the end.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, this isn't arms. This is
This
Megalo
is Megalo
Box.
boxing.
Yeah. I'm sorry I misunderstood.
Also, he isn't a dog man. He's an actual man, but he just calls himself Junk Dog.
Okay, that's...
Yeah, his name is Junk Dog. And then his fake name is Joe. And it was made for the anniversary of Ashton Joe.
Yeah, it's kind of a retelling of the Ashton Joe story.
And it's perfect in every way.
Well, good.
The audio design is amazing and just adds to every single scene, and the style is great and filthy and sketchy, and it looks like they blended like using flat textured backgrounds really well with moving character cells and stuff like that on the scenes, and all of the plot points happen when you need them to.
Oh, cool.
Like when you're introduced to a character, you already know their motivation, you know why they're talking to another character, you know kind of how you want it to turn out, like you have someone you're rooting for in the scene.
There is no wasted moment in the 13-episode run of that series.
Oh, good.
And-
Oh, and it is only 13.
Yeah, and it's
Yes.
it's a full story from start to finish.
So it's not like being intimidated to watch like 90 episodes of Hajime no Ippo or something like that.
Only 90.
Or watching all of Ashton Joe, which probably went on for at least like over 40 odd episodes.
Probably about
Yeah.
52, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I started last episode talking about Megalo Box, or my talking about Megalo Box, saying that I felt sorry for every other series that came out that season because they weren't Megalo Box, and I doubled down on that statement. It was one of the best shows I've seen, period, in a very, very long time. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this show for a number of years to come. It's that good. The soundtrack is one that I've been able to listen to that all the way through. And just love
Still not a
every
fan
second
of the
it.
opening.
Well, the opening they managed to nail so perfectly in terms of the style. It sounds like it should be attached to a 1980s Nelvana cartoon show that runs in prime time. Specifically the raccoons. It feels like it could be a raccoon's theme song. The effort that they made in trying and succeeding in making everything look 2D animated by hand is just it's gorgeous to look at. The motion is amazing, and I cannot say enough good things about Megalo Box. Eryn, do you have anything to say about Megalo Box?
I don't. I wasn't able to watch it, and I'll admit, because I'm the channel of rainbows and floofles, a show that is basically brown is not my top choice to watch. But I've heard so many good things about it, and so many good things about the art direction and the music and everything, like you've said, that it probably will get on my queue at some point, so I'm looking forward to watching it.
I never knew that I wanted to watch Cowboy Bebop a second time, but this time as a boxing anime. And I do, it turns out.
Cool. That was Corey's pick.
Yep, so on to Ian.
Okay. Second pick in Ian's parade of disappointment from this past season is Legend of Galactic Heroes Neue.
What?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch you, Eryn?
I just said, oh no.
Oh yeah, oh no is correct. I am a huge fan of the original Legend of Galactic Heroes, and oh wow, is this not the original Legend of Galactic Heroes? Like starting right at the theme song, which but didn't really mesh with what came before with the original. And I later found out was a B-side on a single that went along with the Gundam Unicorn that they put up in Odaiba.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird mismatch. The animation and the character designs are nothing like what I expect them to be. # not my Dusty Attenborough. And I think what really solidified for me the other day was after watching The Death of Stalin and seeing The Death of Stalin portraying an evil empire area as still a place where people can smile, have fun, enjoy opulent dinners, and still enjoy the physical aspects of life. Legend of Galactic Heroes, the new thesis, portrays the Star Empire as being just this... They're just space Nazis at this point. They're just evil. Everyone is always frowning all the time. Everyone is sad and dour, and there is no happiness or joy to be seen in this kingdom whatsoever. And that's not what I got from the original series. And that's kind of what I was looking for, was an ambiguous series rather than
What you wanted was Logue again.
Yeah.
You wanted a Logue, but just updated animation.
That's not unreasonable to ask for, if that's the title.
In this day and age.
And unfortunately, it's everything that I loved about Logue is gone. The ship design is gone. The characters that are approachable and interesting and a little bit aloof are gone. Wang Wenli isn't the same Wang this time. He's more subdued. He's less. He's more interested in just having a boring life rather than very passionately trying to have a boring life. Apparently, this first 12-episode season is going to be covering the first novel, and then we've got 2 movies coming out afterwards to progress it somewhere from there. So
To see whether or not this actually makes any money or not.
yeah, I don't hold out hope that they're going to be completing the story on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad the original is out there in a more accessible format, at least for more people to get to.
me too. Finally getting that on a streaming service. I think it's Verve has that one.
High Dive, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that one, High Dive. But having that out there now for people to be able to access it without having to break the law by downloading torrents, and then having to download a torrent of several hundred episodes.
212.
Of an old series to boot.
Yeah, if you can find it, it's just go watch the original.
Fun fact for Maho Profile, in order to get all those old toy Magical Girl shows, I had to download a single torrent with all of them for 3 months straight.
Jeez.
Is it just someone in Saitama seeding from their 56K modem?
I don't know. There was always at least 1 or 2 people seeding it, but not very fast.
So now you technically could be somebody else's hero by having access to that. You just have to leave it like seeding forever.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't do that.
That is sufficient then?
That's all I've got to say about the new thesis.
All right. Eryn, on to you.
Well, I also have a theme. It's slightly less depressing than Ian's theme, but not entirely undepressing. But let's save that for later, shall we? My second pick today is another one I didn't finish, but I think I can still talk about it. It's Magical Girl Ore, which, if you've not heard of this, it is a Magical Girl series where the gimmick is that when the magical girl transforms, she becomes a gigantic buff dude in a dress.
Whoa.
The art looks hilarious.
I think we watched the first episode of it at home. Yeah. All right, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
It's fine, I think. I will admit I was a little cautious throughout just because the gender questions and gender sensitivity were always kind of a little bit up in the air with that one.
Right.
But putting that aside, it was funny for the most part. It kind of has like an XL Saga type vibe. It's that frenetic and that full of meta humor for the most part, like referencing the production of the show. Like in the first episode, the villain is painting all the frames black and white and threatening to erase the entire show. The villains are kind of similar to like the Pachus from XL Saga as well, like super like round cute faces, except they have these like gigantic buff dude bodies as well.
Ooh.
The reason I sound so unsure about it is because I think it was fine for a little while, but I don't think I can finish a whole season of that. A lot of the jokes started to repeat themselves very quickly, and I couldn't see it getting much fresher beyond like 3 or 4 episodes. It was basically the same jokes over and over again. Haha, it's funny. She punched that dude so hard he bled.
Okay, yeah. Tied a little closely to the visual gimmicks.
And also there's a little bit of discomfort there in that she has a best friend character. They're trying to become idols together, but they suck, which is one of the more enjoyable jokes, is they really, really suck, or at least she does. But her best friend has a flat-out crush on her. They state very clearly, no, I like you in a sexual way.
Okay. No ambiguity there. That's all right.
No, none at all. And it looked like they were going somewhere with that, but maybe 5 seconds later they turned it into like a predatory lesbian thing.
Thanks, anime.
So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's enjoyable enough for an afternoon maybe, but I don't think I would watch a whole series of it.
All right.
Interesting.
I guess that brings me to my next pick. We're going to talk about Hinamatsuri.
Yay!
Yeah. Translated, Hinamatsuri.
So this I don't know as much about.
Okay, so I'm reading the manga for Hinamatsuri. They just had a great reveal a couple months back, which was on point. It was so good. I can't talk about that. Hinamatsuri is a story about a girl who shows up in a weird, like, metallic egg in a Yakuza lieutenant's home, and he lets her out of the egg, and she's like middle school age or whatever. There's a time skip in the series as well.
I'm playing this game.
Yeah. And so when she gets out, she has like no affect. She's basically Rei Ayanami. You got to kind of take that as just like she just kind of looks dull-eyed and whatever, like, whatever. And then she proceeds to like use her psychic abilities to just kind of cause a bit of havoc in his apartment. And the thing is the whole it's all because she wants like some food and she wants a place to stay, and so he's like okay, and so he just puts up with her. And then at some point she decides she wants to go to school. So he's like, okay. And so then pulls some strings and gets her registered at a school under his last name. And everybody thinks that she's his daughter. And he has to go along with that because otherwise... And there's all these little problems that crop up from just her living in this world and having these like psychic abilities and stuff. And he doesn't really like her, but she's there. So he kind of deals with it. And we don't know if she likes him or not, but she kind of seems like she's like, oh, this is a good place to be or whatever. But every so often they have a moment where they kind of feel like, we're two buddies that are kind of getting along. Now, let's add to that. Another girl shows up named Anzu, and she's also from the future or an alternate dimension or something, and she has psychic abilities, and they have a fight on a riverbank, and it's so good. And then there's another girl named Hitomi, and Hitomi is just your normal everyday human. She's human, middle school student, goes to school with Hina, and Hitomi's problem is she can't say no to people because she likes to help people so much, but she gets caught up in helping them and then to her own detriment, and then she ends up becoming a bartender at her age.
Oh.
And then Anzu, when she shows up, she's like, I've come to take you back with me, and we have to have a fight about it. And then they have a fight about it, and then Anzu can't get back, but she can't like go live with Hina because she feels bad about that, and decides that instead she'll just be homeless. And these stories just tug at your heart because these are all such good girls, except Hina, who's a pile of shit. And it's a comedy end to end. That's all it is. It's a comedy. It's a gag comedy. It's got such good girls in it, except Hina, who's just a disaster. And that's kind of where it's like there's a fourth girl, Mai, and she'll show up eventually. She's up in the first episode and shows up in the last episode, and there's a time skip, and it's all complicated, but it's really funny. And it's just, that's all it is. It's really funny. And as far as getting a show like that to air, like from manga, the adaptation is spot on. They did it. The voices are great. The Yakuza are great. How the girls act is great. I can't watch the intro because it has the girls, like, at certain points, the girls, like Anzu and Hitomi are, like, crying. And they're just like ugly crying. Like, it's just so much. And I can't watch the girls cry every episode. I have to skip the intro, and the intro's good, but I have to skip it because it's breaking my heart watching them cry, even though I know things get better for them later on. And I'm like, I can't deal because they're such good girls, and Hina's such a piece of garbage. So yeah, it's such a good show, and it's really funny, and the manga's spot on. And if you're into a good funny show like that, I'd say watch it. Maybe it's your cup of tea. I don't think it was Heather's cup of tea. I can't speak for her too much, but she would sit in the room while I watched it, so I guess that's something.
So she wouldn't just leave like she does typically.
She didn't just get straight up and leave usually. So yeah, that's Hinamatsuri. I loved it. Any questions?
No.
Moving on to Corey.
Sounds good.
All right, my third pick is Golden Kamuy.
Yeah.
The story of a huge pile of Ainu gold that was stolen, and then the people that stole the gold got put in prison. Then the prison people got a brilliant idea that they would tattoo everyone else in the prison with a map, an encoded map of where the Ainu gold was hidden. Cut away to war. The immortal Sugimoto is back from it. He's in Japan, and he finds out that this Ainu gold has been stolen, and he needs to get money to pay for his best friend from war's wife.
Correct.
Because his best friend is dead.
Because his best friend is dead.
From war.
From war. So it is him and a small Ainu lady wandering around in the winter, hunting and making traps for various animals and people, and learning about good food and
Ainu culture.
and Ainu culture
And each other.
and each other.
And God, is it gory.
Oh man, violent.
I stand by what I said the first time, Beej. It is a rollicking adventure.
You're full of shit.
There's a lot of blood spray, but you don't see anyone get skinned. So that could have happened in this series.
I'm
'cause
only-
there's only like so many ways you can get someone's tattooed skin off their body.
It's fair.
This sounds delightful.
But it is good.
It's very
Oh, yeah.
good.
I mean, would you like to see a really bad CG bear get punched?
It's in the first episode.
Yes.
Yeah. No, the animation is really on point. It's the bears for some
I
reason.
don't know why, because it's just like we needed a big
wolves aren't.
bear
Yeah.
to rear up in scene, and it's like someone didn't want to draw a bear.
And it's weird because it's just the bear, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand. It's an iconic scene. You'd think that like, yeah, if we nail anything, we have to nail this bear punching scene. And we get over it, and it's great. It's great from there out.
Later on, there's the comedy sidekick introduced, Shiraishi, the escape king.
Right.
Who is like a Houdini-style character, but always accidentally ends up back with the gold hunting crew, who are also fleeing from a group of soldiers that found out about the gold and want it so that they can take over Japan.
Yeah, they are very corrupt.
Well, they just want to make their own nation, Beach. There's nothing wrong with that.
I would follow a man whose front of his skull had been blown off and was replaced with like a metal shield.
Yeah, the man who lacks any lips.
Yeah.
Seems legit.
They really nail what war will do to people. Like, in terms of, like, physical dismemberment. They really nail that.
Specifically pre-World War II war.
Yeah. This is like, because wasn't this like the Sino-Japanese War?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
Also, you'll see
1910 or-
people
Was it
injured
Russo?
beyond what an anime character would normally survive.
Yeah.
And they survive.
Yes.
And limp around on crutches for the rest of the show. Also, the theme song, I have been insisting this entire time, sounds like an Our Lady Peace song.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah. Wow.
It turns out it's Man with a Mission.
It's Man with a Mission.
All
They
right.
could have just shot those guys to be in. Oh, that's why the show does the wolves so well.
Why?
Because Man with the Mission is the band with the wolf heads, and they
Is it?
do the thing.
Okay.
It's a very layered reference.
Thank you.
Anyways, that's really all I have to say about Golden Kamuy. It's a lot of fun.
I'm told I should read the manga at the very least.
I want to.
I stopped at one point because they were in a murder hotel, and I was like, I can't take this level of like okay, in a lot of ways Golden Kamuy can be mistaken for torture porn in like the very, very violent things because it gets very into it, but it's meant to be real. It's meant to be like, it's not like Berserk. Like, it's not like that kind of thing.
No.
It's meant to be visceral.
Yeah, it is very visceral.
Save torture porn for later. We'll talk torture porn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't think it's fair to give it that kind of label. But certainly, if you're not into that, and I'm not into that after reading it for a certain number of chapters, I was just like, I really can't do this anymore. And that's what I'm finding hard about watching the show is I'm like, I can only watch the show like maybe once every 2 weeks, and then I kind of get my fill of it, or maybe watch a couple in a row. So I haven't finished it yet.
Ian.
Yeah, speaking of torture porn, we're going to bring up
Oh, no.
my final piece in the Train of Disappointment 2018.
Uh-huh.
Darling in the Franxx.
I'm glad you pronounced both X's.
I mean, they're there, right? They're there to be used. And what they were torturing was the concept of reference and illusion. Mm-hmm. In the lead up to this show, I was so excited for it. It was Trigger, and it was me one. It didn't really matter, but it was Trigger, and they were doing a giant robot series, and the robots were maybe people or maybe not, but it has some really good aesthetic going with it. And watch the first episode, like, okay, this is interesting. It's got a couple problems with it. 3 episodes in, I'm kind of cool on it.
Maybe they'll say interesting things about adolescence and awakening sexuality. Maybe.
Yeah, they were setting up a lot of things to get knocked down there, and then halfway through the series, I'm thinking, okay, now is about the time for the trigger turn, right? They're going to pull the trigger, and it's going to be real good now. So 4 episodes before the end of the series, I think I finally figured out exactly what was going on there.
yeah.
And I think somebody backed a dump truck of money and a script up to Trigger and said, hey, you guys, do you want to do a show? You're old Gynax people, right? Do you want to do a show that's Evangelion and Gurren Lagann?
And Gunbuster and Gundam.
Yeah, all of these shows, all these things that you guys know how to do. We're going to put them all in one show, and it's going to be great. Editor's note, it wasn't.
Record scratch. it wasn't.
Yeah.
It seemed to me that what happened here was, because I didn't watch the show, but what seemed to me that happened is that a lot of people looked at all the pedigrees involved and then said, well, clearly it has to be more than the sum of its parts. And it wasn't. And that's the thing, is it's like, because it never had to be. It was, as you said, Trigger was only animating what A1 was putting in front of them. And it's a thing of where it's like, a company wanted to make this show and then said, but we can get great animation out of it. And Trigger's like, we have no problem with making money because that's what we're in business to do.
Yeah. But it was just such a disappointment because you could take every one of those characters in that series, you could take every noun in that show and jumble it and reorder it and make a much better series. But that just wasn't what happens. And sometimes that's how it happens.
Like, I get that it's disappointing when things like that happen because you expect to say, and boy, are we coming up on that with me. But it's kind of like Trigger didn't screw up and A1 didn't screw up. They made what they had in mind. The problem was the expectations that everyone had built around that based on who these people were, was like, it just basically set people up for disappointment. And I wonder if that's the same thing in Japan too.
It might be. I haven't actually followed much of the fallout from the Franxx, other than a few tweets of, and now we never have to talk about this series again.
And but also the what if in Japan, like what if the reception is fairly good by the people who are watching it are like, actually I really like this show. It's like, oh, you weren't expecting it to say more than it was. You weren't expecting it to be like the next iteration of Evangelion or something like that. And like, no, I was expecting it to be exactly what it was. It's like, oh, neat. Okay, then I guess congratulations, you got the show you wanted.
Yeah, I'm trying desperately not to walk myself into a Last Jedi situation.
Yeah.
Becoming one of those guys. I feel like you've got it right, only flipped around, in that the show wanted to be more than it was, and that it kind of led us on and just didn't deliver on any of those promises.
Okay.
It was throwing up signal flares and doing the, oh, this is significant. This might be significant later. Oh, what a mystery here.
Okay.
Well, and even just raising questions, as you said earlier, about gender stereotypes, and you can go back to some of Trigger's earlier works and see, oh yeah, that's what they were doing with this series. That's what they were doing with Gurren Lagann. That's what they were doing with Kill la Kill. And you'd see those little bits get dropped in the beginning of Darling in the Franxx and just never picked up again. And then instead of an interesting commentary on a person's place in society, it's about, hey, girls should have babies.
And so you would say that Darling in the Franxx is also, though, for the people watching it, not about like, we gave you a series that played all this stuff completely straight, like dropped a lot of hints, but basically played all this stuff completely straight. And what you're supposed to learn from that is that rather than try to get better or try to say something interesting, it still just became pap.
Yes.
And it's like, and so therefore it's like,
it was absolutely just like the slimiest gruel at the end.
I mean, because I'm saying that I guess the lesson you walk away from is that no matter how much you think that something is setting you up to enjoy something, is that there's no obligation on the part of to make what you think is going to happen come true, because life could just play out in a way that sucks.
I think that, and there's also the learning about the difference between subtext and text.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Franxx is very overt about its text. The last episode, I was thinking, oh my god, are they going to do this? Are they going to do a thing here? And then they outright narrated doing the thing.
Ah, okay.
It was a perfect example of tell and don't show.
Well, what a disappointment.
I'm very glad I did not get on that train in that case. Although I have been enjoying, I think some of the best commentary I've heard on Franxx has been on the Anime News Network podcast. They've been going through it the last several episodes, losing their minds basically, but also getting like deep into like the political implications, and also like sort of what you guys have been talking about not knowing exactly what the subtext they're playing with actually means. They're just pulling it kind of mindlessly from Evangelion and other series like it without really thinking about it.
They pull a Gainax pose.
Do you remember Duel Parallel Trouble Adventure?
No.
Okay.
I only heard stories in dark corners of the Phantom.
What was the name of the studio that made Tenchi Muyo? AIC.
Yes.
Okay, so AIC, right after Evangelion came out, said, son of a bitch, we need Evangelion, but we need it with all the Tenchi characters. Essentially, they took a lot of the designs of the Tenchi characters and then just called them by different names and shit and threw them into this Ava type show.
Oh,
all the robots have high heels. It's about two robots, people in the robots. I never watched it.
Okay,
I saw clips
the
of
most
it.
perfect political and social commentary giant robot show is Bokurano. Send tweet. Eryn, what's your last pick?
Oh, I'm just gonna end on the best, lightest, most enjoyable note, I'm sure. I realized, by the way, in my last pick, I said I had a theme, and then I didn't actually say what the theme was. But I think you've probably sussed it out by this point. All of the shows that I watched this past season were related to magical girls because that's entirely where my creative energies are going right now. And for the sake of these creative energies, I think this one requires a little bit of explanation. In the comments of one of my most recent videos, we got a discussion going about Madoka Magica and the legacy thereof. And about how the imitators of Madoka Magica are kind of in the line of Franxx. They are trying for something that made Madoka work, but not quite getting there. Kind of like how, say, I don't know, like the Dark Knight or Watchmen were imitated for their surface elements rather than what those books actually meant, and it resulted in horrible, horrible things for the comics industry. And that's kind of where a lot of the magical girl genre is right now, outside of Pretty Cure. But I've not actually watched any of these Madoka imitators yet, so I felt like I couldn't really participate in this discussion. Because you shouldn't participate in a discussion about the thing without experiencing the thing, right?
Right.
Yep. So I watched all of Magical Girl's site.
Oh.
That was a show.
So what is the show? Fill us in on the plot.
Okay, well, first off, I think I have to give all the trigger warnings. Even just the summary of the show might be uncomfortable to hear. So if you're sensitive to talking about assault and abuse and suicide, and just you be warned, that's kind of come up in the summary of the show. So it centers around a high school girl who gets relentlessly bullied every day, like, not just like, haha, teasing, whatever, like, razor blades in her shoes and head shoved down the toilet, physical abuse, all the full gamut. And it doesn't stop at home either. She gets it from her brother as well. She contemplates suicide every day, and it gets to a point where she is confronted with a website at night called the Magical Girl site, which offers to make her a magical girl. She clicks it, not knowing exactly what it is, and the next day, a heart-shaped gun appears in her locker at school with a note saying, if you use this, you're a magical girl now. And she doesn't use it because she's still not sure what's going on until the bullies really step up the intensity of what they're doing. God, I don't even want to say what they try to do.
That's fine. You don't have to. But...
Yeah, I'm not gonna. But it suffice to say it gets bad enough that she gets desperate enough, she fires the gun. The bullies immediately disappear in a heart-shaped puff of smoke and reappear on train tracks where they are summarily run over.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa.
Holy crap.
And from there, she meets other girls who are involved in this whole dark magical girl thing. Their powers, of course, drain their life. It's kind of, I guess it's like a Madoka thing where they're soul-bound to their power item. Except it's even grosser than it is in Madoka because the power item can be anything, and that includes things that the writers knew that, like, fanboys would love, like panties. Yeah, we've got a heart-shaped gun, we've got a cell phone, we've got a yo-yo. There's some standard ones as well, but the panties in particular are really
Skeevy?
Yeah, they're not good. From there, it just keeps getting darker and more edgy, and, like, I guess it's cliched to say you could cut yourself on that edge, but it really is that. And I think the most frustrating thing about it is there are points where it almost gets good. Like, it gets to a point where you've got a collection of girls who are suffering through trauma together, who are learning how to navigate how not to hurt each other as a result of that trauma. There's a really good video essay, actually, that was put out by the Pedantic Romantic that talks about this topic. So if you want to search Pedantic Romantic Magical Girl site, that video actually covers probably one of the more positive aspects about the show. But it's just so otherwise consumed with trying to present you with the most shocking imagery it possibly can, and playing up the psychotic aspects of every character to the point of dropping all of their subtle character drama that it's just not worth it. And then it ends at a point where it's basically, hey, I hope we get a sequel because otherwise you gotta read the manga.
Wow.
Keeps going?
Yep.
Jesus. All right. I mean, like, Madoka at least had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
And then some movies.
And then some movies.
And then another end. Yeah.
It literally ends with a major character reveal in the last 10 seconds.
Wow.
No.
All right. Well,
Well, I guess we either need to get ready for more of that or...
I hope not. I mean, I guess I'm glad I watched it so I know where the genre's at right now and I can actually weigh in. But man, it was... You can hear the quiver in my voice, I think. It was not pleasant.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad you told us about that so I can avoid that completely.
Yes, please do. It's not worth it unless you're doing it for research purposes.
I've kind of been making it my rule that whenever I read about a thing that's like, oh, normal everyday person can be made a magical girl through some mysterious, and I just go, nope.
Contract.
Yeah, the moment I see that, I think, contract. I'm like, I watch Madoka, and God, they did such a good job.
Unless those powers are literally coming out of a cat's butt.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Yeah.
I will say, actually, that does remind me, thinking of the figure that brings up the contract. There is one positive thing I will say. The figures who present this contract are legitimately creepy and not just overdone. The main one is voiced by the Japanese voice actress of Frieza, and he does a really, really good job of playing up this, oh, you poor unfortunate soul, and it's just this chalk white figure with a creepy Junji Ito smile, and it's quite effective.
Nice.
All right, well.
Okay.
And fun trivia fact, a couple of the other figures from this mysterious group are voiced by virtual YouTubers like Kizuna Ai, and I think there's one other one as well who makes an appearance.
Wow.
But I think you're definitely now narrowing down on what the target market for this series was.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like people who like Toho and Higurashi.
People who like Kizuna Ai.
Oh, okay.
And think Frieza was a relatable character.
And anything else you want to add, or shall we continue on?
Yeah, no, I think if I say more on this show, I think I would make a whole separate video about it.
Already.
I look forward to it.
My final pick, then, for spring 2018, my pick, is Uma Musume, Pretty Derby.
Yay, please, let's end on something nice.
Yes. Hey, see? Okay.
Is it nice? Is it nice?
It is.
Thank you.
And let me tell you. So here's the thing. A show about a high school age girl, a bunch of high school age girls, trying to find their place in life, learning about an interesting job, and then doing it. What studio do you think made this show?
Oh.
It's PA Works.
Yeah,
And oh my god, it's on point. So, okay, horse girls are a thing separate from normal girls in this show. Let's just get that right out of the... I should explain what the plot is. The plot is about a girl named Special Week, because that's the name of a real horse in real life Japan. Special Week moves out of the country and moves to the city so that she can become the best horse girl in Japan. The thing that horse girls all do, they race. They aren't draft horses, they don't do dressage, they don't do any of that weird shit. All they do is they race against each other. No jockeys, it's just them giving her all out, running as fast as they can. Uma Musume was made as a video game. Cygames is involved. This, I'm pretty sure, was an arcade game or maybe a mobile game, but it's a way for you to make bets on, the girls running around and doing whatever, and there's lots of idle imagery and stuff, to the point where if you win your race in the middle of the day, you have to stick around till the end of the day so that you can do an idle song and dance on stage. And I saw that when the show was running, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking interminable. I'm going to have to sit through so many performances. And all they did is they start showing one for about 8 seconds and then cut away, because it was like, you get the point. It's an idle thing. We're not going to show you the idle thing because there's lots of idle anime and there's lots of...
You can buy the CD album if you care about that part.
She's exactly right. All that stuff is up there, and that's fine. And it's like, we're not interested in showing you any parts of that. What this is an honest-to-God sports anime. And it's so good. And I feel so kind of like, I want this to just be a schlocky whatever and laugh at it. And I watched the first episode, and I'm like, that's kind of compelling. And then I watched the second episode, and I'm like, this is way more compelling than I thought it would be. And then by the third episode, I'm like, this is a sports anime.
So, on a scale of like 1 to 8, how many exclamation points would you put at the end?
This is probably like 2 to 3. I don't think
Okay.
it's the full 8. But Jesus, like that's the thing, is Keijo definitely set the stage for this. It absolutely did. If Keijo didn't come out and wasn't as successful as it was in that way, I don't think you would have gotten this turned into an anime, specifically because I feel like Keijo... kind of set the table for a bunch of girls in a high school devoted to doing only one thing and one thing only. And we never see them take class, so it must be this is the only thing they do in class. And there's training and there's activity, but we're going to treat it like a serious sport. And then through the lens of a serious sport, we're going to make you actually be interested in it as a sport. And all of the girls, all of them, are all named after famous horses in Japan. And here's a great little thing too. Silent Suzuka, who is she's the fastest girl at the school, and she's great. She's very quiet though too, but Silent Suzuka, who's very, very fast and runs in front of everybody all the time, Silent Suzuka died during a race. She tripped and fell lame, and she died as a result.
The horse, not the character.
The horse.
Okay.
What did they do to the character?
During that same race, the character slips, falls lame, and can't finish the race. And for the rest of the episode, you have no idea whether they killed the character off or not. It's so
The
good.
answer is no. They did not kill a character.
And the thing is, they didn't, ultimately. But they let you think that because every girl who carries a horse's name is doing things based on what the horse does. Like, there's so much research that went into this thing, and I'm like, it's just supposed to be a whatever. It's they gave him a funny names. It's like, no, everybody's based on a horse that ran through like the last 20 years or something like that. And I was just kind of blown away by this. Like, you guys did this research and you put all this stuff together and you made these things mean something. And I was just like, okay, but it's a sports anime and it has a happy ending, and that's great. And they run against a French horse named Broye, and Broye is really fast, and she's really strong, and she's big.
Is that like the Rose of Versailles horse I've seen pictures of?
Holy shit, yeah, she's the Rose of Versailles horse, and they have a race against her, and El Condor Pasa has to race her at one point, and then later on, Special Week gets to race her, and it's like, and it's tense, and you learn about running, and you learn about, like, they have to learn different techniques on how to run, because apparently you don't just run on a track that's flat. There are certain parts where the track actually goes up and then goes down again. And I was like, I didn't know about that, but apparently that's a real thing in Japanese racing. I learned so much about Japanese race industry through all of this that I had no idea about. And of course, I don't have like encyclopedic knowledge, but it's really good. If you like sports anime and you can kind of get beyond the thing, is like, this seems very exploitative. There's no fan service that I can remember from the show. There's not like panty shots. There's no
Just upskirt on that horse.
like all these things that I thought I was going to be like, there's going to be all this upskirt. There's going to be all these things. And like, there's some shots of them in the locker rooms, I think, at some point where they're wearing like a bra or something, like, and whatever. But I'm like, they don't indulge in that. And it really surprised me for what I thought was going to be a very exploitative show that I was hoping would just be fun. And I was like, it is fun. And it's fun in this way that doesn't make it prurient. And that's not to say I don't like prurient stuff, because, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of Sin. But this was really kind of wholesome.
It kind of sounds like it's following the Love Live mold of, like, it's taking the Moe formula, but taking it to a wider audience and taking the creep factor away.
It kind of felt like the creep factor. Like, I mean, okay, the one thing I will lead with, that is important, is that the trainer, he shows up on the first day, and Special Week's standing and watching at the racetrack, and she's watching her hero Silent Suzuka runs. As she's standing there, she gets a kind of moment, and they show a side shot, and this dude has his hands all over her thighs, and he's like a younger dude, right? Like, he's not like 16, but he's like, he's in his mid-20s, and he's like holding her thighs, and he's like, you've got strong thighs, you'd be a good racer, and then she kicks him in the face. And he does that every so often, and I'm like, that sucks, and that's what kind of tuned me in for, this is going to be the thing. I'm going to see a lot of this shit. You see it 2 or 3 times, I'm like, okay, I can let that slide in favor of everything else, because I like the show for all these other reasons. But that was like, you did that for the fan service joke of he's feeling up this girl's, an actual sentient person's thighs to judge her for being a runner. And I'm just like, kind of not okay.
This was a producer's note.
Yeah.
That's exactly the level of Love Live's fan service, then.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, I really loved Musume. I think that if more people check it out, I think you might enjoy it.
All right, moving on to summer, and in the interest of time, I'd say we just
Go very fast.
I don't know, list the title, list a general impression of the show, and kind of what we want from it, if that makes sense. I'll start off with Hanebado, which is a sports anime about badminton, and all the characters are ladies. And I would really, really like this to be just a really good sports anime.
I mean, there were some boys, but you never see them play badminton.
Holy hell, though, does the animation look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've seen clips of, and I'm like, oh. That might be something.
Heather gave me crap because I mentioned like there's a fair bit of boob jiggle going on in this. I'm like more than I expected.
The main character has the big guns.
Yeah.
And that almost threw me off of the series, but watching the show and then seeing that it's like, oh, we've got a serious rivalry character thing going on.
And Heather had said to me that amount of boob jiggle, especially when they're playing sports, I think you can just be fine with that. And I'm like, okay, I think that's fair.
It's not like High School of the Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't the boob jiggle that got me. It was the shuttlecock getting hit and having those feathers just separate just a bit as the racket deforms. And then,
It's so good.
Yeah, I want to learn about the precision of badminton.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to, I'll mention my first pick here. And first pick is Penguin Highway, which is from Studio Colorido. And wow, I am surprised that this animation exists because it looks like just a lot of fun as a movie. It's about a kid in grade 4 who gets a crush on a woman. God, I can't remember what she does in town. I think it's something like just an insurance salesman. But they get together and they are trying to find out why there's a bunch of penguins in town.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The movie?
Yeah,
Yes.
magical penguins show up for no reason. For some reason in the trailer, she's throwing a can and it turns into a penguin. And
Sounds awesome.
And the original work is from the novelist that did like Tatami Galaxy and Night a Short Walk on Girl, but it's not a Masaaki Yuasa direction.
Well, still.
Wow.
There's interesting names attached to this. So yeah, the original work is from Morimi Tomihiko, and the director is Ishida Hiroyasa, who I found out did Fumiko's Confession, which was that short animation about the girl who runs downhill.
Yeah.
But also did Fastening Days, the extended
Yeah?
YKK zipper commercial.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I gotta see this.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what kind of it looks like it's definitely going to be an upbeat series or film,
Movie.
and I'm really looking forward
High
to
energy,
seeing it.
colorful.
A lot of fun.
Nice. Aaron, one of your picks.
All right, I guess I'll do the one that's the least likely to overlap. I don't know if I have too much to say about it, other than I'm looking forward to watching it, is Shinya Tensai Bakabon, or the new Genius Bakabon, which is an adaptation of a old-ass anime from, I think, it's got to be like 50s, 60s, 70s, kind of in there. It's an old Fujio Akatsuka manga by the same creator of Osamatsu-kun, which was recently adapted as Osamatsu-san.
Yes.
This looks like it's going to be in the same vein as Osamatsu-san, in that it takes that old material and updates the jokes for modern audiences. I haven't watched the first episode yet, but I've seen the screenshots, and a lot of the jokes seem to be in that vein, especially in the vein of that first episode of Osamatsu-san, if you've seen that banned episode. And this time they went out of their way to get the copyright clearances for their jokes.
Oh.
It's hilarious. They got the clearance to use Hyde's
Yes.
likeness
Yeah.
from X Japan, but not his voice. So they brought someone in to do an impersonation.
They got Miki Shinichiro to do it.
Wow.
Oh.
But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I haven't read the original manga, but I did do a lot of research on Akatsuka for my video on Himitsu no Ako-chan, so I'm really looking forward to checking out more Akatsuka-related stuff. I'm glad it's getting a new anime. It should be fun.
Yeah, it feels like one of those things that you feel like you should know about as an anime fan.
Yeah, just because the character looks so familiar. If you've seen Japanese manga for any amount of time, you feel like you've seen this character.
Or eaten like Japanese dagashi or something. If you've eaten like Japanese candy, you've seen characters drawn the same way on like everything.
Yeah.
Okay, my first pick for the upcoming season is Chio-chan no Tsuugakuro, or Chio-chan's School Road. Chio's School Road is how I'm seeing it romanized, or not romanized, but translated into English. Based on a manga about Chio-chan, high school student. The first episode kind of gives away how everything's going to work. She stays up till 3 hours before she has to go to school playing Assassin's Creed. Then she falls asleep at the front entrance of her house trying to leave, and she's on her way to school as fast as she can, which is funny when you watch the show, but we'll get to why. And she turns a corner, and the road that she normally takes is blocked off. And she's like, well, I could just climb that light pole, and I could stand on that guy's roof, and I could jump to the other roof, and I could just jump on roofs and get to the... Because, you know...
Oh, is this the Assassin's Creed girl?
Yes.
Yes.
And she's like, no, that's stupid. And then she turns around and leaves, and then turns around and runs back and proceeds to climb the pole and get on the roof. Of course, she's not a seasoned assassin. She's a high school girl. So she is hauling herself up onto this stuff, and she's out of breath. But then she gets up there, and she's like, huh. And then she kind of proceeds along. So what I had hoped the manga would be is about her always trying to get to school. It's not. But it is about her personality and dealing with her friends, and she's kind of a piece of crap. Well, no, she's not. She's kind of a very flawed human being in a lot of ways. which is very refreshing because she's just a normal person that is really into Western gaming, especially. And there's a chapter in the manga where she forces a friend of hers to play PUBG, which is just astounding to me because I'm like, you guys care about that? Neat. But for the most part, it's her thinking of different things she's done in games and using that to influence how she does things in life, but also even outside of that, just like her dealing with other weird people that she knows at her school. There's one episode that has to do an awful lot of kabaddi. And Corey's like, oh, kabaddi, you say?
Oh, I get it.
It's good. I think I like the manga. The TV show, weirdly paced. First episode feels way too slow. But the next episode is supposed to have 3 different things going on in it, which makes me think that they did that on purpose to the first episode, so you had a lot of time to get used to it. And it's going to pick up the pace. So my worry is that it's going to be really slow when it should feel very fast. I think it's going to be better than my expectation was. If you read the manga, I'd say check out the show. If you haven't, a new chance for you to get to see this weird take on a girl going to school.
My second pick is Hataraku Saibou,
Yay!
or Cells at Work, and it looks stylistically very interesting to me. And I guess in the setting-wise, the main character is a red blood cell who is trying to do her job day-to-day and the different encounters and things that she runs into. And I'm hoping that it's something kind of character-focused inside of a bureaucracy like Library Wars.
I was going to say, please tell me that this is a spin-off of Health with Little Red Riding Hood.
No.
I was thinking like Osmosis Jones.
Have you watched an episode of it?
I've not watched an episode.
So it does skew pretty heavy towards combat.
Yes.
Which is weird, because I didn't expect that either, and I hope there's going to be some like slower episodes.
I was also going to say, like, One Punch Man. Like, if it skews a little in that direction where it's just like, here's some mundane stuff and then fighting.
The
In
first
Library Wars, they have guns.
Yes.
Yeah, there
The
you go.
first episode is called Pneumococcus, and the next one is, I think, influenza. It deals a lot with germs and stuff, but I think it's more to just get people's attention. I think it's really cool. I really liked the first episode.
All right. I guess that brings me next here. This one, I'm going to, Eryn, let you chime in whenever you like, because I think we have an overlap here.
Yeah, I think we might have a couple, maybe.
Yep. I'm going to, I didn't write down the whole title of that one, so I'm going to go with Banana Fish, which was from Studio Mappa, who I didn't realize also worked on In This Corner of the World.
Yeah.
Oh.
As well as Yuri on Ice and Kids on the Slope. It's an original work from an original manga by Yoshida Akimi, and I haven't read it yet, but I understand from everyone who knows anything about manga, it's telling me, you need to watch/read this. In fact, just read it. It's sort of a crime drama set in North America so far as the first episode. But it seems like just a very down-to-earth crime mystery series, and I'm very excited to see where it goes because it's got a great recommendation behind it. The music is fine, the animation is so far really great, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
And it's funny that you say down to earth. I guess you could call it that, but it's kind of a weird kind of down to earth, I think. It's that through the lens of Hollywood cinema, through the lens of Japanese understanding of Hollywood cinema, I feel like.
Oh, perfect.
So that gives it an interesting vibe where a lot of the characters seem to have typical like anime sensibilities, but they're trying very hard at the same time to put through Americanisms and play up the setting as well.
I guess I was just meaning that it's not, as far as I know so far, you're not seeing anything magical or
Supernatural.
Or supernatural. Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't read the manga myself either. I almost read the manga as a teenager, but sadly, the copy of it that I borrowed from a friend literally got eaten by our dog.
No.
Oh no.
So I had to buy her a new copy, and she didn't let me borrow that one.
Dog saw the words banana and fish and thought it was food. And
Yep.
Yeah.
All I know is a lot of people out there who I respect lost their shit over the fact that this was getting an anime and had no expectations that it ever would.
Yeah, I think we probably have Yuri on Ice to thank for that because, well, it's the same studio. I think they feel a little safer bringing out a title that has, if not a queer romance, and at least queer undertones in it that are not necessarily BL, so to speak. In that vein, I think it's probably going to be a queer story in the vein of queer stories that were created in the 80s, which is not always a good thing, but it should still be an interesting story to watch play out because it's a famous manga for a reason.
Yeah, and they appear to have modernized it. Like, the war setting is modern, and they have cell phones and stuff like that, so I'm not entirely sure how they'll approach some of the more traumatic elements of the story.
Yeah, like they've updated a few surface things, but they did also update some character things. Like, again, I haven't read the manga, but from people who have, they've said that, say, there's a character in the first episode who is not nearly so fleshed out in the manga, but they've added some more character to him for the anime.
Excellent.
Good.
Eryn, do you have like because we heard what Ian was hoping to get out of it. Did we get what Eryn was hoping to get out of it too?
I think kind of the same kind of thing. I'd like to just sort of get to know what the deal with this famous manga is and not have it be eaten by my dog before I finish it.
Because you guys have double time technically, because you're both talking about Banana Fish, so I want to give you guys both enough time to talk about it. So we'll move on to me again then.
Yeah.
Second pick for summer is Grand Blue, or as some of you will probably see it, Grand Blue Dreaming, because apparently there's something already out called Grand Blue, and so they have to call it Grand Blue Dreaming, I think. I'm not sure. Grand Blue is about a diving shop called Grand Blue. There, we got that out of the way. What it's actually about is about a boy named Iori. He's a man. He's 20 years old. He's Hatachi. He's an adult. He moves to this small town to go to university, and he's going to live with his uncle and his cousins at the diving shop Grand Blue. And he's all like, yeah, I'm starting university now. Like, I'm transferring in or doing what everybody's starting university. He's going to be good. He's going to go to an engineering program. He's like, I'm going to make some friends and all that. And, and the diving shop's right here. And, maybe this will be cool. I'll see the kind of people who hang out here and see what things are like. And he opens the doors. And there's all these amazing, buff, cho-aniki looking dudes who are all very nude, drinking a lot of beer. And then he just lets the door shut. And he's like, maybe something. And he does, of course, yeah. This is not a gag manga. It's a comedy manga that has some relationship stuff in it as well. And it is full of man-ass and full of ladies in bathing suits and a bunch of people in wetsuits, and it's about him becoming a part of the diving club and having the just shenanigans. This is a thing about college shenanigans. It's what it's like to have you ever drank 94% alcohol before? It's Polish spiritus. That is a very popular thing that they do in this manga. There's literally a thing at the beginning of the anime that's like, warning, underage drinking is not a good idea. Neither is the kind of forced drinking you're about to see throughout this thing. Like, there's a warning that says, everything you're about to see is depicted only for fun, and please don't do it, for God's sakes. I love this manga because it's so stupid. And these guys get into these scrapes, and there's lots of the standard things. All of a sudden, everybody just goes all JoJo or shonen or whatever, and then that just disappears next panel. It's a comedy. It's meant to be this kind of raucous, stuff's happening. Guys are yelling at each other, and then that kind of goes away. People saying stupid shit, and then people getting hit for saying stupid shit. It's like if you just took out all the slow bits from Gaki no Tsukai. It's just shenanigans, the manga. I really love it. The anime is weirdly paced. It's slower than it should be, because I think it should be way faster, and it's not. And I'm hoping that was just to get the setting out of the way so we could watch the beginning or whatever, and we'll see what the second episode is like, and I don't really know. And I'm kind of like, I hope I don't have the same problem with this that I have with Chio-chan, because, yeah, my expectations were this stuff would be a lot faster, and jokes would land a lot harder and a lot quicker, and we'd see movement, and that's not really happening. It seemed a little more flowy, and I'm like, that's not what the manga was to me. But we'll see. Looking forward to Grand Blue.
All right, my last pick is another movie, and I have picked Mirai no Mirai, or The Future's Mirai. Beach, I'll give you the synopsis.
Please.
There's a 4-year-old boy named Kun. He has a baby sister who is stealing all of his parents' attention. He goes out in the garden one day. Mirai from the future shows up, and they go on an adventure.
Wait, so his little sister.
But from the future, so older than he is currently.
Oh, that's darling.
And it's directed by Hosoda.
Oh, no kidding.
So, yeah.
I wondered why that sounded familiar.
Yes. So if you're into things like Boy and the Beast or Summer Wars or whatever, you'll probably like this. I'll probably
awesome.
like this. I'm looking forward to just a fun adventure with slight touching moments.
I will stand in line for every one of his movies.
Yes.
Eryn, why don't you bring us home then?
Well, actually, I found a third one. If you wanna go through the last one that you've got.
Oh no! Now I need to look up the actual title. Shoujo Kageki reviews Starlight, which, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is from Kinema Citrus Studio. They put together Made in Abyss, which they got their Bunafides right there. Bakabon, Tokyo Magnitude 8.0, and Eureka 7.
Oh.
Director was the person behind Yurikuma Arashi. Well, sorry, not the person
I was going to say, wait a second, hang on.
Not that director.
Yes. Director was Furukawa Tomohiro, who is assistant director on Yurikuma Arashi, and worked on Mawaru Penguin Drum as well. This is probably the closest thing we're going to get to an Ikuhara series this quarter. And wow, it's a pretty easy premise. Girl is going to a school for the performing arts, and she wants to become an actor in this famous acting troupe called Revue Starlight. The first half of the episode is pretty normal in that respect. She goes to school, she meets some of her fellow students, and then she takes an elevator that she didn't realize the school had, which leads down into the basement about 20 or so stories into a ring where there are a couple of her classmates dueling for some reason. And then there's a giraffe, which talks to her about the duel that's going on. And then she transforms.
They're theater dueling.
After falling off of the Tokyo Tower.
Also, all of the stuff with the elevator happens in the last 5 minutes of the first episode.
That was the last half of the episode as far as I'm concerned.
There's so much setup! Anyway, keep going.
There's so much animation in that area.
Yeah, so I'm on the fence about this show a little bit because I'm the last 5 minutes has me very excited for what this show can be. But after the Franxx, I'm a little bit gun-shy at this point. I'm going to keep watching it because I want this... the pedigree is there.
Yeah, I would like it to be. I think what gives me pause is less Franxx and more Star Driver, which is another Ikuhara alum show that started with a lot of weird and beautiful promise, but quickly went off the rails in the wrong sort of way.
Somebody else who watched Star Driver!
I watched about 5 to 7 episodes before I gave up on that one.
I watched the whole thing.
I should go back to it maybe and see if it's worth...
Beach watches a lot of stuff.
Heather and I both like Star Driver, but yeah, I think what it didn't cash its checks. Go ahead, though, Eryn.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of excited for the same reasons that Ian is, so I won't say too much more, other than the fact that I'm a huge Utena fan, and if it's anywhere, like, if it's even a fraction as good as Utena, then it's probably going to be worth watching, so I'll keep my eye out. But my actual third pick, I think I'm going to make Bang Dream Girls Band Party Pico, which is a TV show.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit in already, but obviously it's not going to take long to catch up on that one. Just because I've been really into Bang Dream lately. A lot of people in my circles have been. I'm glad that they're getting... they did have a proper anime a little while back. I can't remember, like maybe last year or something like that. But it only focused on one of the bands in that franchise, and there are like 5 of them. And even this being like a 5-minute gag anime, whatever it is, features all the characters at least, and it looks cute and it looks funny. So I'm on board for that.
Nice. God, I just... Because now we mentioned Revue Starlight, I kind of wanted to be like... Because the same thing bugs me too. I'm worried this is going to be Ikuhara Light.
My worry, just to jump back there for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this doesn't apply to anyone else. It's just my own personal taste. I got a real like Idolmaster vibe from the first bit.
Yeah.
And I thought, how much of this is going to be Idol show, and how much of this is going to be Ikuhara?
I got Hibiki Euphonium vibes.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think what made me worry is that first half doesn't have nearly so much of the deliberate composition that Ikuhara tends to put into even the most mundane of his scenes.
Exactly.
So I don't know, but that last bit, man, if there's at least one thing like that per episode, that might be enough to carry it.
I mean, the thing that... Because I thought about that, and I was like, if... The fun thing, at least, with you're watching like Utena, you're watching maybe not Penguin Drum so much, but like Yurikuma Arashi. Because it's like with Wes Anderson, right? When you watch Wes Anderson, you know you're watching Wes Anderson, and so you can kind of like your brain reconfigures to deal with what's about to go on. I expected that same thing. It was like I'm watching this thing that I heard people talking about. Oh, there's Ikuhara things feeling in here, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. And I'm like, this does not feel like that kind of show. And then the last 5 minutes, the elevator and everything else, I'm like, oh. Okay, so this feels like to me like what happened in Penguin Drum, where all of a sudden we have this survival thing, and I'm like, okay, so maybe that's what's going on here with my brain. But I'm going to watch them too. I want to see what it turns out to be.
Well, we have the consolation that at least we know that Ikuhara is working on something new if this doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my final pick then for Summer's 2018 is High Score Girl. Yeah.
Not surprised.
It doesn't sound like a great title, maybe. I don't know. High Score Girl is about a boy named Haruo. This is set in 90s Japan. It is about the rise of arcade fighting games and the console generation. So the Famicom's already out, like that kind of thing. Super Famicom's out. PlayStation is near. Sega Saturn is very near. But this starts with Street Fighter 2 just came out. And the whole show is built around Haruo learning to play this video game and then encountering this girl from his class, Onoda, and she's mute, essentially. Like, she's not mute in a medical way. She just doesn't like to say much or really anything. And he's pretty good at video games. He's trying to get better and better at Street Fighter 2. She's really good at video games. Everyone she puts her hands on, she's really good at. And she's also an ojo-sama. She's like very rich and she's quite smart. But she goes to a normal school, like with all the other kids that are like, in his class and whatever. They're both in the same class together. And it's about their friendship. And it's really interesting because they are not friends at the beginning of the series. And I'm reading the manga. And one of the things that amazed me about the manga was that everything they use for video games in the series is used under license. And it's all documented at the end of every chapter that it's like, this is copyright Capcom, copyright Square Enix, copyright Arc System Works, copyright Taito. Like, all that stuff is all categorized. They have the rights to use all the imagery they use. And there's a lot of imagery. This is like Scott Pilgrim level using all the imagery kind of thing. There's lots of it. And I think it's a really nice series. And if you are finding it in a way on the web at this point, you're probably not finding it normally because it is apparently acquired by Netflix.
And they'll probably dump it as a complete series at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. But I watched the first episode and it's really good. And pacing-wise, the pacing is not weird. The pacing is on point. It's perfect. It's exactly how it's supposed to be, and it's a really good show. So I'm excited about it. Plus, I used to play those games growing up, so I was never good at them, but I used to play them. That's my pick.
All right, I think that's everyone.
I'm amazed you sold me on 2 series this time, Beach.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. I might not watch Banana Fish, but you have piqued my interest now all of a sudden.
I don't think Banana Fish is your thing.
It might not be? Okay, well, fair enough. Thank you to everybody then who tuned in to listen to this. Of course, this is an audio-only podcast this week, and we thank you for enjoying this. If you want to find out the names of all these things, look below in the notes or in the YouTube where you have been watching it. And I want to thank special guest Eryn Cerise for coming on the show with us. Thank you, Eryn.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Beej. Well, for Corey, really. Corey.
Yes, Corey is the one who set this all up. So where can people find you and your stuff?
You can find me on youtube.com/Eryn Cerise. That's ErynCerise.
And you're doing Maho Profile. You also do a lot of Love Live stuff. We already talked about all that, so that's cool. Thank you so much. And thank you to Ian and thank you to Corey for being on the show. Thank you to Corey for setting the whole thing up. And hell, thank you to Paul for sitting in the back and running the whole board while we make this happen.
Thanks, Paul.
But once again, we can't end up the episode without thanking all of you listening at home, and especially those of you who choose to support us and everything we do over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
So with that has been AnoAni for this 3-month period, which does not have a weird term like fortnight, but we'll come up with something maybe. For this quarter?
Yeah, this quarter.
We will catch you guys again next time.